Listen to me right now. Success isn't sexy in the beginning. It isn't glamorous. It isn't Instagram worthy. It's the long nights when no one's clapping for you. It's the mornings when your alarm clock feels like an enemy, but you get up anyway. It's the repetition, the discipline, the sweat, the sacrifice. That's the grind. And here's the truth. Most people don't trust it. Most people want instant results. They want the trophy before they've even stepped into the arena. They want the applause before they've done the work. But life doesn't work that way. You don't earn confidence by talking. You earn it by doing over and over again until the world has no choice but to respect the standard you've set. The grind isn't punishment, it's preparation. Every single rep in the gym, every late night study session, every call you make, every failure you endure, it's all building you into someone unstoppable. The grind is the test that separates the dreamers from the doers, the pretenders from the performers. So when it feels heavy, when it feels lonely, when it feels endless, don't quit. Trust it. Trust that every ounce of effort is compounding. Trust that discipline today will create freedom tomorrow. Trust that pain is carving out strength. Trust that sweat is the down payment for your future. Because here's the secret. The grind doesn't just get you the goal. It changes you. It makes you resilient. It makes you relentless. It makes you the kind of person who doesn't just achieve once, but keeps achieving, because now you have the muscle, the mindset, the fire. So don't run from the grind, lean into it, embrace it, because the grind is your ally, not your enemy. The grind is the bridge between average and extraordinary. The grind is where greatness is born. Trust the grind, and the grind will never betray you. The grind isn't punishment, it's preparation. Most people misunderstand this truth because they're conditioned to believe that hard work is some sort of cruel sentence handed down to them by life, a necessary evil they must endure to barely get by. But the grind is not there to break you, it's there to build you. Every hour you put in, every ounce of sweat you invest, every uncomfortable step you take when others would rather sit down, it's all laying a foundation for the person you are becoming. Think about it. If you want to stand on a stage and inspire thousands, if you want to lead a company, if you want to change your family's legacy, if you want to dominate your sport, you don't just wake up one day ready. You are forged through repetition, through discipline, through those daily battles nobody else sees. The grind is not punishment. It's your training ground, your proving ground, your preparation for the bigger battles ahead. When you're in the grind, it's easy to think you're being punished. The alarm clock feels like an enemy. The setbacks feel unfair. The pace feels relentless. You ask yourself, why do I have to go through all this? Why does it feel so heavy? But the grind is stripping away your weakness, stripping away your excuses, stripping away every layer of comfort so that only strength, discipline, and hunger remain. That's preparation. Just like steel must go through fire to become unbreakable, you must go through the grind to be unshakable. If life handed you everything you wanted the first time you asked for it, you wouldn't be prepared to handle it. You wouldn't appreciate it, and it would slip right through your fingers. The grind makes sure that when your moment comes, you're not only ready for it, you own it. Preparation doesn't always look like progress. That's why so many people quit. They think just because the results aren't instant, the grind isn't working. But progress is deceptive. You can't always see it in the mirror or in your bank account or on the scoreboard right away. But behind the scenes, the grind is shaping you. Every rep at the gym is creating muscle fibers you won't notice until one day someone says, "What happened to you? You look unstoppable." Every call you make, every page you read, every failure you study is wiring your brain with resilience, resourcefulness, and power. That's preparation. It's building your capacity before the world even knows what you're capable of. When you reframe the grind as preparation instead of punishment, your energy changes. Instead of dreading the work, you attack it. Instead of dragging yourself through the routine, you understand that every moment of repetition is chiseling your future. Athletes don't train for fun. They train because when the lights turn on and the crowd is roaring, they've already been there 1,000 times in practice. Entrepreneurs don't stay up until 3 a.m. working on their vision because it's glamorous. They do it because when the opportunity hits, they'll be ready to seize it while others are still sleeping. The grind prepares you for the moment when everything is on the line. And the difference between winning and losing comes down to who trusted their preparation the most. Look around at the people who complain about the grind, the ones who quit early, the ones who say it's too much. They see it as punishment. And because they see it that way, they never give themselves fully to it. They do just enough to survive, never enough to thrive. But the ones who see the grind as preparation, they lean into it. They're not asking, why me? They're saying, test me. They know the grind is a gift because it's building something inside them that no one can take away. You can lose money, you can lose opportunities, you can lose relationships, but the discipline and strength built through the grind stays with you forever. Preparation is what gives you confidence. Confidence doesn't come from pretending to be strong. It comes from knowing deep down that you've done the work. When you've spent years grinding in the dark, you don't need to talk yourself into believing you're ready. You just know. That's why preparation through the grind is priceless. When others fall under pressure, you rise because pressure is nothing more than proof of how prepared you are. The grind teaches you not just to handle pressure, but to thrive in it. And when pressure becomes your fool, there's nothing on earth that can stop you. The grind is also preparation for life's unpredictability, because let's be real, life will hit you with curveballs. You'll get knocked down. You'll face setbacks you didn't plan for. People will doubt you. Obstacles will appear out of nowhere. But when you've been through the grind, you're prepared. You've already trained your mind to keep going when it's uncomfortable. You've already trained your body to push when it's exhausted. You've already trained your spirit to keep faith when the evidence isn't there. The grind doesn't just prepare you for the goals you've set. It prepares you for the battles you don't even see coming. Some people wait until the moment comes to prepare. That's why they fail. You can't prepare in the spotlight. You can't prepare when the opportunity has already arrived. You prepare now in the grind when nobody's watching, when nobody's clapping, when nobody cares. Because when that door opens, there will be no time to get ready. You either are or you aren't. And the grind guarantees that you will be. The grind is the separation line. On one side are the people who want the reward but not the work. On the other side are the people who understand that the work is the reward, because it transforms them into someone worthy of everything they're chasing. The grind is not punishment, it's preparation. Every hour you invest is building capacity. Every sacrifice you make is carving character. Every challenge you embrace is strengthening your soul. The grind is preparing you not just to win once, but to keep winning, because the person you become in the process is far greater than the prize you're chasing. Discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. Most people don't understand this principle because they confuse freedom with doing whatever they want, whenever they want, without boundaries, without structure, without restraint. They think discipline is restriction, a kind of prison, a set of rules that locks them down and keeps them from enjoying life. But the truth is the opposite. Lack of discipline is the real prison because it chains you to your impulses. It locks you into patterns that destroy your future. It keeps you enslaved to short-term pleasure at the cost of long-term fulfillment. Discipline is the act of choosing your future self over your current comfort. Discipline is the choice to sacrifice temporary ease so that you can build permanent strength, wealth, health, and freedom. Think about it. When you discipline yourself to wake up early, you gain the freedom of extra time to chase your goals while others are still sleeping. When you discipline yourself to manage your money, you gain the freedom of financial security while others are buried in debt. When you discipline yourself to eat right and train your body, you gain the freedom of health, energy, and vitality while others are stuck battling sickness and fatigue. The small disciplines today create the future freedoms tomorrow. Discipline is the key that unlocks every door that most people think is locked. The irony is that people think discipline is hard. They think it's painful, rigid, exhausting. But you know what's harder? Regret. Regret is heavier than discipline will ever be. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. That's why the person who disciplines themselves today enjoys a life tomorrow where opportunities open, doors swing wide, and confidence is natural. They aren't constantly haunted by what if, because they know they've invested in themselves. They've put in the work when it was hard, and now they enjoy the payoff when it matters. Every act of discipline is like a deposit into the bank of freedom. You might not notice the balance growing in the short term, but it's compounding every single day. You pass on the junk food today, and it seems small, but years down the road, it's the difference between being vibrant and energetic or worn down and sick. You put in the extra hour of practice today, and it feels minor, but years later, it's the reason you stand on the podium while others sit in the stands. You discipline yourself to make the call, read the book, take the notes, push the reps, save the dollar. And while it feels insignificant in the moment, those little deposits create a mountain of freedom that others can't even imagine. Discipline is freedom because it puts you in control. Without discipline, you are controlled by cravings, by laziness, by distractions, by other people's opinions, by every temptation that pulls you away from your purpose. With discipline, you run the show. You tell your mind where to go instead of letting it wander. You tell your body how to move instead of letting it decay. You tell your time how to be spent instead of wondering where it disappeared. That's real freedom, because freedom is not the absence of rules. It's the presence of power over your own life. People who lack discipline live in cycles of frustration. They want results but refuse the habits that produce them. They want freedom but choose bondage every day through laziness, procrastination, poor choices, and excuses. They spend money recklessly and then complain about being broke. They eat recklessly and then complain about being tired. They waste their hours and then complain about not having enough time. Discipline is the difference maker. Discipline says, I will pay the price now so I can enjoy the prize later. Without it, you're always living in reaction, always chasing quick fixes, always envying the lives of people who chose to do the work you refused. The greatest leaders, the most successful entrepreneurs, the top athletes, the most impactful creators all have one thing in common. They discipline themselves to do what others won't. They wake up when they don't feel like it. They push when they're tired. They study when they'd rather relax. They practice when no one's watching. That's why they live with a freedom that most people never taste. Freedom to control their schedules, freedom to travel, freedom to enjoy health, freedom to say yes or no without fear, freedom to live life on their terms. That freedom doesn't come by accident. It is purchased in advance through years of discipline. If you want true freedom, discipline cannot be optional. It must be your foundation. Discipline is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. It's not about grand gestures. It's about daily decisions. Waking up early one day won't change your life, but waking up early consistently will. Saving money once won't build wealth, but saving consistently will. Reading one book won't transform your mind, but reading every day will. Discipline stacks, it compounds, it builds momentum that carries you further than talent or luck ever could. And the beautiful thing about discipline is that it doesn't just create external freedom, it creates internal freedom too. When you're disciplined, you don't live with the constant guilt of knowing you're not living up to your potential. You don't wrestle with shame every night because you wasted another day. You sleep better because you know you earned it. You walk taller because you know you did the work. You feel peace because you're aligned with your values instead of being pulled by your impulses. That is freedom of the highest kind. The truth is, discipline today is the ultimate act of love for your future self. Every sacrifice you make now is a gift to the person you're becoming. Every workout, every disciplined decision, every uncomfortable choice is a way of saying, I care about who I will be tomorrow more than I care about feeling good right now. That mindset separates those who live small, limited, restricted lives from those who live expansive, abundant, free lives. Discipline today creates freedom tomorrow, and when you fully embrace that, you stop seeing discipline as suffering. You see it as strategy, as empowerment, as the only real path to a life of limitless freedom. Consistency compounds into unstoppable momentum. At first, consistency feels boring. It feels small. It feels insignificant. It feels like nothing is happening. You show up to the gym, you put in the reps, and the mirror looks the same. You sit down to work, you grind out another hour, and the results don't seem to shift. You practice your craft, you study your notes, you take the calls, and it feels like you're invisible, like no one notices, like no one cares. That's why most people quit before they ever see progress. They confuse the silence of consistency with the absence of results. But just because you can't see it yet doesn't mean it's not happening. Every single action you repeat is stacking on top of the last. Every discipline choice is adding weight to your future breakthrough. Consistency is invisible in the beginning, but unstoppable in the end. Think about water dripping on a rock. One drop means nothing. 10 drops, 100 drops, still no visible change. But after thousands of drops, that rock begins to erode, not because of force, but because of consistency. The rock never stood a chance against the relentless persistence of the water. That's exactly how momentum is built. One workout doesn't transform your body, but 1,000 will. One book doesn't make you wise, but reading every day will. One call doesn't grow a business, but making them daily will. Consistency compounds, and over time it turns effort into exponential results. Momentum is the byproduct of consistency. Once you build momentum, everything feels lighter. Tasks that used to take all your energy now flow naturally. Habits that used to feel forced become automatic. Goals that once looked impossible now feel inevitable. But momentum doesn't just show up. It is earned through consistent action. You can't cheat your way into momentum, and you can't buy it. You build it step by step, rep by rep, day after day. That's why consistency is so powerful. The world doesn't reward occasional effort. It rewards relentless persistence. The challenge is that consistency feels unrewarded in the beginning. People clap for results, not for routines. Nobody celebrates you when you wake up at 5 a.m. Nobody posts about the 100th time you practice in silence. Nobody notices the small choices you make to stay disciplined when temptation is screaming at you. But consistency doesn't need applause. Consistency is a private contract you make with yourself. It's proof that you can trust yourself to follow through. And when you can trust yourself, you become unstoppable because now your word means something. Now your habits mean something. Now your future is being shaped by actions instead of empty wishes. Momentum also has a multiplying effect. Once you start stacking wins, even small ones, you create a rhythm that pushes you forward. You close one deal and suddenly you have the confidence to close the next. You stick to your workout plan for a month and suddenly your energy carries you to another month. You build a morning routine and suddenly your entire day feels sharper. Small wins fuel bigger wins, and before you know it, you're in motion so strong that stopping feels harder than continuing. That's the power of compounded consistency. It shifts your identity. You're no longer someone trying to change. You're someone who simply shows up and keeps going. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They try to sprint, they try to force results overnight, and when it doesn't happen, they quit. But the real magic isn't in the sprint, it's in the marathon of consistency. If you put in small, deliberate effort every day for a year, your entire life will look unrecognizable. That's the math of compounding. Just like money compounds interest, your actions compound results. One disciplined choice seems small, but multiplied by time, it becomes unstoppable. Consistency also destroys resistance. At the start of any journey, resistance is high. Your body fights you, your mind doubts you, distractions tempt you. But the more consistent you are, the less power resistance has. You prove to yourself over and over again that you're stronger than the excuses. And eventually what was once hard becomes easy. What was once a battle becomes second nature. That's how momentum turns. You no longer need to force yourself into action. It pulls you forward. That's when consistency becomes freedom, because now your habits are carrying you instead of you dragging yourself. The key is to show up even when it doesn't feel good. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. You don't have to do everything flawlessly. You just have to keep doing it. Miss one day, fine, but don't miss two. Fail once, fine, but don't let it become a pattern. The greatest achievements in history didn't come from perfection. They came from persistence. From people who decided that no matter how long it takes, no matter how slow it feels, they will keep showing up, because when you keep showing up, you will eventually create momentum so powerful that nothing can stop it. Consistency is also contagious. When people see you show up day after day, when they see you practice discipline without fanfare, when they see your habits stack into real results, they feel it. They're inspired, they're influenced, they're pulled into your momentum. You create a ripple effect just by being consistent. That's why leaders are consistent, because consistency doesn't just transform you, it transforms everyone around you. The truth is, consistency is the ultimate equalizer. You don't have to be the most talented. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to have the most resources. If you're consistent, you will outlast and eventually outperform the ones who started with more. Talent fades without work. Intelligence means nothing without discipline. Resources are wasted without action, but consistency compounds. Consistency creates momentum. Consistency turns ordinary people into extraordinary forces. So when it feels like nothing is happening, remember that something is happening. When it feels like your actions don't matter, remember they all matter. When it feels like the grind is endless, remember that momentum is being built silently in the background, and one day it will explode in results so big that people will call you lucky. But you'll know it wasn't luck. It was the unstoppable power of consistency compounded over time into momentum that nothing and no one could slow down. The grind transforms you before it rewards you. This is where most people misunderstand the process, because they're conditioned to chase rewards, to chase the applause, to chase the external validation that comes at the finish line. They think the grind is only about the outcome, about the money, the trophy, the recognition, the status. But the grind is about so much more than that. Before it ever hands you the prize, it molds you into a person who can hold it, protect it, and multiply it. Without transformation, the reward is meaningless, because you won't be ready for it. You won't have the discipline to sustain it. You won't have the resilience to protect it. And you won't have the character to handle the weight that comes with it. That's why the grind doesn't just reward you, it changes you first. When you step into the grind, you're not just doing work, you're building yourself. Every rep, every late night, every rejection, every failure is sculpting you into someone tougher, sharper, and stronger. The grind doesn't just demand action from you, it demands growth. It stretches your limits, pushes your boundaries, tests your patience, and forces you to adapt. At first, it feels unfair. You think, why does it have to be so hard? Why can't the results come faster? But that's the point. If the grind gave you the reward instantly, it would cheat you of the growth that makes the reward last. It's the transformation that ensures you don't just achieve once, but keep achieving, because you've become the kind of person who wins consistently. The grind is like a furnace. It burns away your excuses. It melts down your ego. It strips you of everything unnecessary until only the strongest version of you remains. The person you are today is not the person who will hold the reward you're after. You have to grow into them, and growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth happens in repetition, in struggle and discipline, in those daily choices to show up when it's hard, when it's lonely, when it feels like no one cares. That's the transformation. You're developing resilience that can't be taught in a book, confidence that can't be faked on social media, grit that can't be borrowed from someone else. Most people quit because they don't understand this. They think the grind is failing them because the results aren't immediate. They don't realize the grind is working on them in ways they can't see yet. The grind is building their mental toughness, training their emotional endurance, sharpening their focus, rewiring their habits. The transformation is happening long before the results are visible. Just because you don't see it in the mirror or in your bank account or in the scoreboard doesn't mean it's not happening. Transformation is internal before it becomes external. And by the time the world sees the results, you've already been changed into someone entirely new. This transformation is the real reward, because trophies can break, money can be lost, applause fades quickly, but the person you become through the grind cannot be taken away. The strength, the discipline, the mindset, the skills, they are yours forever. That's why the grind transforms you first, because what you build within yourself is more powerful than anything you can hold in your hands. Once you've been transformed, you're dangerous in the best way, because no setback can truly stop you. You've already proven to yourself that you can endure. You've already shown yourself that you can adapt. You've already built the kind of character that refuses to fold. The grind also teaches you humility. It reminds you that nothing worthwhile comes without sacrifice. It humbles you when you fail. It corrects you when you're wrong. It shows you where you're weak. But instead of breaking you, it uses those moments to teach you. Every mistake, every misstep, every setback is feedback. The grind teaches you to listen, to learn, to improve. It strips away arrogance and replaces it with hunger. It strips away entitlement and replaces it with gratitude. It strips away laziness and replaces it with urgency. That's the transformation. You evolve into someone sharper, wiser, hungrier, more disciplined. And the grind doesn't just transform your abilities, it transforms your identity. You stop saying, I'm trying to be disciplined, and start saying, I am disciplined. You stop saying, I'm trying to get stronger, and start saying, I am strong. You stop saying, I'm chasing success, and start saying, I am successful. Identity is the ultimate transformation, because when you change who you believe you are, your actions follow automatically. The grind reprograms your identity by proving day after day that you're capable of more than you thought. Another layer of transformation is perspective. The grind shifts how you see obstacles. At first, challenges feel like punishment, like roadblocks designed to stop you. But as you go deeper, you begin to see them as opportunities. You realize every obstacle is a test, every failure is a lesson, every delay is preparation. You stop fearing resistance and start seeking it, because you know resistance is what makes you stronger. That perspective changes everything, because it frees you from discouragement and turns setbacks into fuel. And here's the paradox: when you stop obsessing over the reward and start embracing the transformation, the reward comes faster, because you're no longer distracted by the scoreboard, you're focused on the work. You're no longer chasing shortcuts, you're building foundations. You're no longer attached to outcomes, you're addicted to growth. That shift makes you unstoppable, because you're not just chasing something, you're becoming something. The grind transforms your body, your mind, your habits, your spirit. It takes you from undisciplined to disciplined, from scattered to focused, from fragile to resilient, from doubtful to confident, from average to extraordinary. That transformation is the greatest gift of all, because even if the reward is delayed, even if it comes in a form you didn't expect, you've already won. You've already become someone unrecognizable from who you were when you started. The grind transforms you before it rewards you, because the greatest reward is who you become in the process. Trust the grind. It's the bridge from average to extraordinary. Most people live their lives standing on one side of that bridge, staring at what they want on the other side, but never crossing it because the path looks too long, too exhausting, too uncertain. They dream about success. They talk about their goals. They imagine the life they want. But when it comes time to walk across that bridge, they hesitate. They want the extraordinary without committing to the ordinary work it takes every single day. The grind is that bridge. It's built of discipline, sweat, sacrifice, repetition, and resilience. And the only way to move from average to extraordinary is to trust that the grind will carry you there if you keep walking. The grind feels slow, but that's because transformation always feels slow when you're living it. You take one step and the scenery doesn't change. You put in one day of work and the results don't show. You put in 1 month of consistency and it feels like no one notices. That's when doubt creeps in. That's when the average person turns back. But those who trust the grind keep going. They believe in the unseen. They believe in the compound effect. They believe that every step is taking them closer to the life they know they were built for. The grind tests your patience, but patience is exactly what separates the average from the extraordinary. The grind also demands faith in yourself, because when you're on that bridge, you don't get applause, you don't get validation, you don't get people cheering you on, you get silence, you get resistance. You get days where it feels like you're walking in the dark. But when you trust the grind, you understand that the silence is part of the process. You understand that every unseen step is building unseen strength. You understand that extraordinary doesn't announce itself halfway through the journey. It waits until you've crossed. Average is easy because average doesn't ask for much. Average lets you stay comfortable, stay predictable, stay safe. But extraordinary demands everything. It demands you wake up earlier, stay up later, push harder, and focus longer. It demands that you cut distractions, ignore excuses, and discipline your emotions. The grind is the toll you pay for extraordinary. Without paying that toll, you're stuck on the average side of the bridge, forever wishing, forever regretting, forever wondering what might have been if you had trusted the grind. What makes the grind powerful is that it changes you while it carries you. With each step across that bridge, you're not just getting closer to the goal. You're becoming the kind of person who deserves it. The grind toughens your mind so that when obstacles appear, you don't quit. It sharpens your focus so that when opportunities come, you don't miss them. It builds your endurance so that when challenges last longer than expected, you outlast them. The grind doesn't just move you forward, it elevates you upward. By the time you reach extraordinary, you're not the same person who started on the average side. You've grown into someone capable of holding everything you've earned. Trusting the grind also means embracing the repetition. Extraordinary lives are not built on one massive action. They are built on small actions done consistently, relentlessly, without glamour. It's the daily habits, the routines, the disciplines that look ordinary but stack up into something extraordinary. Reading when others watch television, training when others sleep, investing when others spend, saying no when others say yes. Each decision looks small but stacked together across years. They form the bridge to everything you've ever wanted. That's why trust is required. You have to trust that the little things matter. You have to trust that invisible work will become visible results. You have to trust that ordinary steps taken daily lead to extraordinary destinations. The grind will test you with frustration. It will whisper in your ear that it's not worth it, that you're not moving fast enough, that you're wasting your time. That's the voice of average calling you back. Average wants company. Average wants you to quit and settle and blend in. But when you trust the grind, you silence that voice. You understand that frustration is part of growth. You understand that impatience is a trap. You understand that the grind is never betraying you. It's preparing you. And when you keep moving, you prove to yourself that you can't be lured back into mediocrity. Extraordinary people are not born different. They make different choices. They choose to trust the grind when others doubt it. They choose to take the long road when others look for shortcuts. They choose discipline over comfort, vision over distraction, and patience over instant gratification. That choice is what builds the bridge, and every day they make it again. That's the secret. Extraordinary doesn't come from one decision. It comes from thousands of decisions stacked together, fueled by trust that the grind is always working, always building, always carrying them forward. On the other side of that bridge is freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of health, freedom of wealth, freedom of impact. Freedom to live life on your terms, to create, to give, to inspire, to rise. But none of it comes to those who dabble. None of it comes to those who give up when it's hard. None of it comes to those who want results without sacrifice. It comes only to those who trust the grind enough to cross the bridge, no matter how long it takes, no matter how steep it feels, no matter how silent the journey seems. Trusting the grind means believing that every step counts, every choice matters, every action is a brick in the bridge that takes you from the life you've settled for to the life you were meant for. The grind is not glamorous. It's not instant. It's not easy, but it is certain. If you give yourself to it, if you refuse to quit, if you trust it even when you can't see results, it will take you from average to extraordinary. And once you cross that bridge, you'll realize it was never just about the destination. It was about who you became along the way.